Hi. Please don't let the title of this live scare you off. Yes, we are talking about stage fright or performance anxiety or whatever you want to call it, but we're going to also talk about overcoming it. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. Before I roll into that conversation, I just want to remind you or let you know, if you didn't know, that there's 48 hours left, actually less than 48 hours left until my Embody Your Voice program kicks off. If this experience has been tugging at you or this topic is very much what you would like support with, please check it out and jump in. So I will put the link below. I've added an extended payment plan to support anyone who that would feel nourishing for, and you also get lifetime access to the program. Okay, so stage fright, you might also call it performance anxiety, you might also call it just being shaky and sweaty in front of other people, pretty much anything to do with it feeling like everything falls apart when someone else is listening or when you're recording yourself, right? It can happen then as well. So the usual go-to for curing this consists of either A, working harder on your technique, I've been there, or B, forcing yourself to do it over and over and over again because it's then going to become more comfortable. So A or B or a combination of both. I'm going to ask you to suspend the belief that that is actually the right way of going about this, okay? That perhaps there is a better, more effective, and more compassionate way to go about this. So what I will say is, of course, there are benefits to honing your skills when it comes to technical training. But for many singers, their technique is much more solid when they are in practice by themselves or when they're in a safe space, like a singing lesson. And it's only when other people or a public performance comes into it that the wheels start to fall off, right? In which case, it's not more technique, more work on the technique that's going to dramatically change your experience then. And B, for some people, the just do it style of just getting outside of your comfort zone and making sure that you do it even though you're afraid, for some people that works. But for most people, especially creative types like you, sensitive, creative, artistic types, it can actually be re-traumatizing. So it then gives us another example about why this experience, in this case, performing, feels unsafe. And bullying yourself to just, I should just be able to get over it, doesn't build self-trust. In fact, it actually can erode it. So if those things don't really work as effectively as we would like, if they work at best a little bit, but they don't enable you to enjoy expressing yourself in front of others, then what exactly is the answer? And here's my offering. Figuring out the specifics of what's really going on in that head of yours and that nervous system of yours. So the first thing I want you to start thinking about, the first question I want you to ask yourself is it possible that perhaps you don't have stage fright or performance anxiety, that perhaps what you have is insecurity? And let me know. If you're on live, let me know if that resonates with you. If you're nodding along with me, give me an emoji, give me something. Hi, by the way. When we are honest, that is probably what we're dealing with. It doesn't sound like this obscure affliction that we don't really know how to cure, right? We're like, oh my gosh, stage fright, like I don't even know where to start with that. It feels like this huge thing. It's not obscure, it's incredibly common, and it usually comes down to three things. You are either afraid to be seen, you're afraid to mess up or make a mistake, or you're afraid that you're not enough, or a mixture of all three, which was my experience, my younger self. These are all human, they are all universal, and they are all triggered by public performance. Hi, Vesta, certainly does resonate. I'm glad, darling. Stick with me. So all of these things are the reason that you might overthink during a performance. So you're so afraid that if you let go and enjoy yourself, it won't be right, that you actually are micromanaging everything, thinking about every single lyric and how to hit that and all of the techniques that you've used. It's also why you might hyper focus on what the audience might be thinking or saying about you. I remember whenever anybody would like whisper behind their hand when I was performing, I was like, oh my gosh, immediately they're saying something negative about me. They're like, oh, I hate this girl's voice, right? And it's why if you make a mistake, it's probably really hard for you just to keep going. It's hard for you to just move on. You're obsessing over that mistake. You're anticipating mistakes that you're going to make. And it's why you also might feel uncomfortable in your own body. So also let me know if this resonates, that you might feel like you move in a really unnatural way. You might feel like you freeze. It's just awkward. For me, I'm like, where did these hands come from? Did I just sprout hands? It was always what I thought, like, what do I do with these things? So these are the reasons, because you are insecure that you're not enough, you're afraid to be seen, you're afraid to make a mistake. In these moments, or if you like completely freeze in these moments, it might be right before you get on stage or right before you press record, you probably hear a voice in your head. And you might call it your inner critic, you might call it, an expletive, or you might simply believe that it's the truth, that voice is telling you the truth. And that's the voice that's telling you things like, you should never have gotten up there, everybody heard that mistake, you're never going to be able to pull off this song or that note, they're probably laughing at you right now, you'll never be good enough, why did you think you could do this? It's the voice that we've all heard, and it's the voice that makes us shrink or want to run and hide. Yeah, so let me know. Heard this voice, maybe? Most of us, and most singers that I've worked with, will demonize this voice. So you might blame it for every missed opportunity, the reason why you haven't done it, right? Every tense performance that you've ever had. Every time that you've given up for a while is because of this voice. And I get it, because I wanted to have mine removed as well. I wanted it to just never be in there until I thought about it in a totally new way. And yes, Amanda, beautiful. Yes, a mix of all three. So that was all three of the insecurities that we have. So normal. So most people that I speak to feel like they have a little bit of all three. It's so normal. So when I thought about this voice in a totally new way, everything shifted for me. And particularly the trying to get rid of it, the bullying it away, like, get away from me. This voice is a mixture of young parts of you who are trying to avoid pain or embarrassment or criticism or disappointment because they have experienced that. So at some point in your life, you learned that it's not safe to be seen. It's not safe to take up space. It's not safe to make a mistake. You always have to be impressive. We've learned these things, and you might have learned them multiple times in multiple different ways. It doesn't necessarily need to be with your voice and with performance. You might have learned that love was conditional and you had to earn it in a specific way, right? You have to earn it by being the best. You have to earn it by everything going well. You have to look a certain way. And so stage fright, these insecurities coming up at this time, is your body responding to that conditioning. And the problem with only seeing it as stage fright means that you're missing out on all of the gold that will enter your life if you actually start to uncover the deeper story here. It's also why, if somebody has told you, just take some deep breaths, or just say some affirmations, or imagine all the people in the audience naked, and it didn't work for you, this could be why. And if they do work for you, that is cool. Keep doing your thing. Just go for it. Okay, so what do we need to do? What is within our power to do here? We need to do two things. The first I've spoken a little bit about. We need to create some distance between you and those young parts of you, or what you might currently call the inner critic, so that you don't feel like that is the truth. You're like, oh, that is a young part of me that experienced that, and she's scared that I'm going to be embarrassed, or she's scared that, somebody's going to criticize me, or he's scared that he's not going to be good enough. Someone's going to come and be like, what do you think you're doing up here? It's just that old fear. And I call them our protectors, these parts of us, because they're trying to protect you from making the same mistake again. They're scared. They want to avoid that. But you are probably, hopefully, a capable adult now. If you're still a teenager, like, you're going to get there. That's cool. You can still take on board this. Who can experience challenging things and can look after yourself, can know that you are worthy just no matter what happens. But these young parts don't know that, and sometimes we get caught up in the fact that they are us. They are our thoughts, so that must be the truth, right? So we need to start to listen to them as these young parts that are crying out for our attention, going, I'm not okay with this, I'm not okay with this, and actually creating a relationship with them through compassion instead of frustration and shame, because we often are belittling them. We're yelling at them like, just go away, right? The second thing is you need to build your capacity to experience sensations in your body. So let me know if you're watching live, like, what sensations do you experience when you have stage fright or when you experience performance anxiety? It might be sweat. For me, it was shaking. So the mic could look like this. It could be that your heart races. It could be that you have like churning in your stomach. When those things happen, we tell a story about that. And the story that most singers tell about it is that we shouldn't be feeling those things. And as soon as you bring should into the equation, and you are feeling those things, then we start to panic. Then the anxiety comes up, right? So if you say you shouldn't be feeling this, and you are feeling this, and you can't get rid of it, then it becomes what we see as a problem. We also need to build our capacity to hold emotions in our body. And when we hold those emotions, the next step is to then build our capacity for vulnerability to let the audience witness us experiencing and expressing these emotions, right? Because otherwise, you're just putting on the mask of an emotion. So I could be singing, I'm like, oh, I'm singing a sad song, and I'm kind of faking it. I'm not actually feeling sad and letting you in, letting you witness my genuine emotion. So many singers will come to me and be like, I just want to feel like it's an authentic expression. This is what I'm talking about. That's what happens. But it takes a building of your capacity to be vulnerable and to experience those emotions simultaneously, right? Because otherwise it's not storytelling. It's not real. It's just this, it's like, I have an interesting relationship with the word performance now. It feels like a performance versus like an inviting to be witnessed. Does that make sense? So these are both skills that you can learn. Unfortunately, most singers either haven't been taught or don't even know that this is what they need to learn if they want to authentically show up on stage and be able to enjoy it. So let me know if this is just completely new to you. You're like, I thought I just had to learn the technique, and that was kind of it. Maybe a little bit of mic technique, like be able to look people in the eye. But this is a layer deeper, right? But it is transformative. So this is what we do through a range of practices in my Embody Your Voice program. It's designed to build your capacity for this and to build your capacity to also be seen in a very safe space, which is very self-honoring, to do it somewhere safe. So hopefully you can see that while honing your technical skills is wonderful and important, I'm not saying that it's not, it's brilliant, but it's not the answer to the thing that you call stage fright. Because some of the most technically skilled singers that I know still don't believe that they're good enough, still don't feel comfortable being seen, taking up space. They're still working on their self-trust and their ability to be vulnerable in front of other people. And what I find really fascinating is that when you work on this behind the scenes, this mindset and nervous system, these elements, it can fix issues that you might have previously attributed to technique, so technical mistakes or technical faux pas, particularly to do with the breath. So often people will be like, oh, I just didn't have enough support there, Kim. That's why that happened. I'm like, it's got nothing to do with your support other than that your nerves meant that you couldn't even get a breath in. It meant that you couldn't be in your body. So yes, it has a knock-on effect, but if we start to piece together the elements to do with your ribs or to do with your breath or to do with your whatever, it's not actually going to support you when it comes to the next performance. A lot of strain is because you're trying so hard. You're trying to be impressive. You're trying to be powerful, right? Addressing these layers is amazing, Kim, at any level. I'm so glad that you think so. Thanks, Amanda. So you can tell that I get really fired up about this. But this is a different set of skills. It's a different set of skills. And it's a set of skills that opens the door to not only feeling more at ease on stage or just being heard by other people, but to stop this guarded type of performing. I see so many singers that have beautiful voices that are just what I call painting by numbers. They're just putting the right notes in the right spots in the melody. They are not letting themselves be transported. I have a saying like, if you're not willing to give yourself goosebumps, how can you be giving them to other people? Right? You need to be feeling it first. So I want you to be able to reconnect with the whole reason you started singing in the first place, which is because it's cathartic, it's freeing, it's beautiful, it's human, it's the telling of stories, it's sacred. And if it isn't for you, that's just telling you where you need to go next, if you want to. That's the invitation here. But as soon as you buy into this narrative of it must be perfect, or people are criticizing me, or it has to be impressive, when you start to tether your worth to this outcome, it saps all of that magic. As I said, you can't be in your body. You can't be actually experiencing emotions and letting people witness you in that. You're all up here, right? It can't be enjoyable. It can't be pleasurable. And you're constantly feeling like you're trying really hard. That's what I felt. I was always just like thinking and trying when all I wanted was it to feel like it did when I was a kid. And it does now, after doing all of this. But nobody told me to do this. I had to figure it out myself. And I don't want you to just keep waiting and waiting and waiting and being like, why can't I shake this stage fright thing? Why can't I feel good performing in front of others? It's not something that just kind of magically disappears. But it does need skills that you can learn. So I just want you to know that it is possible. It is so possible for you. It's not an affliction, as I said, that you can't cure. And what I desperately want for you, desperately, is for you to believe that you belong up there behind the mic. Because so many of you don't right now. Can you imagine how that would feel? Like right now, can you imagine if you felt like you belonged up there? That your voice should be heard, is encouraged to be heard. other people want to hear you. So if that is something that you long for, if you want to feel like you belong up there, that you don't stand up there and you feel like you're a fraud or you're not enough, I invite you to check out Embody Your Voice. I'm going to put the link here. I created this program for this very purpose because I knew that it was missing. There's too many people talking about technique, which is amazing. There's so many great technical teachers out there. They're fabulous. But why aren't we talking about this? This is so vital. So there are tons of testimonials from other singers who have been through the program, which will give you an idea of their experience, of what it looks like, what it feels like. As I said, I've added an extended payment plan to support you further, and you have lifetime access to the program. So even if your life feels really full right now, if you're feeling overwhelmed, overwhelm is another thing that we're going to explore because it's so important that you don't feel overwhelmed and overcome, right? There's not this big time pressure with it. You have lifetime access. You have my full support for 5 weeks. And as I said, so much will shift, not only in your relationship with your voice, your relationship with your body, but your life. Because these are universal insecurities. As I said them, you're probably like, oh my gosh, yes, that has a ripple effect in my life. I can see that. These are insecurities that we have to heal within ourselves so that we can lead more vibrant and rich lives, which is, I know that that's what you want. I know it. So I hope that this landed for you. I hope it resonated with you. If it did, please let me know in a comment below. I would love to hear from you. And if you have any questions, please reach out. You can connect here. You can connect Instagram, email me, kim@thatsweetraw.com. Please take beautiful, beautiful care of yourself. And yeah, stop telling yourself that it's this infliction that you can't get rid of or that you're broken in some way. You 100% aren't, and there is a pathway forward.